Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you're doing fantastic today. My name is Tyson, here with Repair My Funnel, and today we're going to be diving into the ClickFunnels 2.0 editor. I just want to give you a nice overview of the flow or the workflow you might experience when you're in the platform here, just so you're aware of what you're walking into. All right, these things will shift over time, likely, but for now, just know that this is what it looks like at this moment in time. This is currently July 28th, 2024. Just make sure you're aware that they're always making updates to the overall flow of the editing experience. So don't take everything 100%, but the general basis of most of the layout will likely stay the same. For instance, they just adjusted like the flow of when you adjust an element, right? When you go in and start editing elements here, these settings have been shifted around a little bit. I see this happen off and on here, but just know that things will slowly shift over time. Now, to kick things off, let's go ahead and start with a overview of the top of the page and work way down. Start at the very first item here. We have help. Right, this guy right here is just going to show a little widget. If you click on it, that will allow you to reach out to support or look up any articles or state your problem here. And usually it'll point you in the right direction with a video or a link to reach out to support. Right next to that, you have the option for info. This is basically just what you'd want to use to debug the page. So if you have anything on a page that shouldn't be there or something's wrong with it, usually you'll be able to find any issues directly in here with the errors or warnings, with stuff that you need to take care of, and it'll point you in the right direction with where you need to go and what you need to do. And yeah, basically this is just here to help troubleshoot and prevent a lot of issues that can be prevented right from the get-go without having to wait for things to be released and get feedback from people saying, hey, I can't check out, I don't know what's going on, there's not a product connected by the looks of it, or whatever it is. This will help troubleshoot that a little bit and make sure you're good to go. Or maybe you have two checkout elements on the page, right? You'll see a nice warning, for example. Let me just give you an example of what that will look like. Check out. We'll go with this guy right here, and I'll just duplicate it for undies. Okay, now from there, we see that there is a new highlighted look to the info section there. If we click on it directly, it'll give us the warning now that we have multiple checkout blocks on the page. All right, that's it. It's just telling you what the issue is and how we need to solve it. Basically, in this case, you just need to remove one of them, and that will go away. There you go, for example. Okay. All right. That is how that works. Usually you will only end up using this if you see it glowing and want to dive into what is happening with that error, right? That's the only time you really ever dive into that. Right next to that, you have the layout functionality. This is going to show you everything that is currently laid out or positioned on this page, right? So for sections, rows, elements, every single thing, this is just basically walking through everything. You can move things around from this view. You can literally just drag and drop if you want to, right? So if I want to move this row to this other section down on the page, I can if I want to. All right, there we go. If you want to reverse that, you can up here. But anyways, you can do that for elements. You can go in and adjust any of these as well. So if you want to access the settings for, let's say like this section right here, you can click on the three dots. And then from there, you can go in and go to the settings. You can clone it from here. You can view the code view. You can save it as like a template if you want to. And you can go up and down right here as well if you wanted. Ton of different things. So there's that. You can also go over here and toggle things on or off for mobile or desktop views. So if you only want things to show on desktop or on mobile rather, you just go over here and toggle that off from its view. And then you can go about your day there. Just like that. One simple click and you can go in and optimize for both mobile and desktop right there and then, which is pretty cool. All right. From there, after that, I mean, that's pretty much it for layout. You have the ability up here to change what it's showing if you don't want to see everything and you only want to see like specific sections or, overview of all the rows. You can do that as well. You can see right here from the get-go that everything is kind of labeled the same. So it's very tough to see what you're looking at as far as like section. If you want to adjust that, one little tip here is that if you go to the three dots of any of these items and click on rename, it'll let you actually change the name of that, and it'll be a lot easier to navigate and make sure you're in the right area, right? There is that. Just a little heads up, little tidbit there. Hopefully that helps. All right, moving over, we have the assets area right here, my assets. This is basically all of your pre-made templates that come directly out of the box with ClickFunnels 2.0. You can scroll through them all right here. Right, we got headers, we have stacks, we have footers, and as of right now, they're still rendering, but as they load, there we go. Get a better idea. But we have a bunch of different preset things that you can bring and just add directly to the page. If you want to use any of these, for example, let's say I love this footer. All right, let's say I really want to use this. All you have to do is just drag and drop, place it on one of those sections that highlights or changes color when you place your mouse over top of it, right? And just drop, let go. And after that, it'll add it directly to the page. That is the same for all of these guys, right? So same procedure. Find what you want from there, drag and drop, place it on a page, and you're good to go. You can also access your own saved templates here, right here at the very top. So if you have any universal or just saved templates in general, you can click on it directly and then find it within the editor. All right, there is that. Okay. One last thing here is that actually two last things. You can search up here at the top. You can go over here and you can choose the orientation as far as how everything is presented, right? Usually I go with this guy right here, just so I can see everything at one glance without having to scroll forever, but totally up to you. You can use it however you'd like. All right, there's that. Moving on over, we have the pop-up. This is just basically that pop-up that you can add to any page inside of ClickFunnels 2.0. If you want to show it, click on show pop-up there. This is just so you can go in and start editing the pop-up itself directly in the editor here. Everything inside the pop-up is the same as far as like sections, rows, and elements. That does not change. But yeah, if you want to adjust the settings of the pop-up itself, you have the option right here to edit pop-up settings. There we go. A bunch of different customization options there and all that fun stuff. All right, there's that. Right next to that, we have the style guide. So technically every page has a base style guide, and depending on what you connect to it, we're not going to go too in depth on that necessarily in this video. If you have questions about style guide, make sure to let us know down below, or just check out our channel. I believe we do have a style guide video up and running. But style guide can be edited directly here inside the editor. So let's say that you have a style guide attached to the page itself or the funnel as a whole, and you just want to go and make certain adjustments to the fonts and make sure that maybe the baseline font is higher. Right, there we go. All you have to do from there is update, and that is that. Everything on a page that is using that style and that size will adjust accordingly. All right, pretty dang cool. All right, we'll go and discard this. Just know that that is there as more of a shortcut to have, to go in and edit all the stuff you need right there at a moment's notice. Directly to the right of that, you have the settings. So you can go over here and set the page background. Right, you can turn that on or off. Does not have to be used by any means, but it is there in case you want to have like a default background for the entire page, and then you can change the background for sections and rows and actually even elements if you want to as well. But just know that there's the body option right here, which is the I guess the topmost position when it comes to the background, or the farthest most position. Either way, this can be like the entire page versus like a section or a row that's on the page. The other option in that drop down for settings is gonna be topography. Right, so if you want to go over here and change the topography that's being used for that page, you can go and select the drop down here and find the actual one that you want to use. You can choose the weight and everything, but by default, everything should be coming from that style guide. If you want to make any adjustments, I recommend that you go into the style guide itself and adjust it from there. Okay. The next option is going to be show code. So if you are keen on adding custom features to your pages, you can do so using the code area right here with custom CSS. You have tracking areas right here for your header or footer code, rather, depending on what you're trying to do. Yeah, there's not much to touch on that. Just know that there's a custom code area there in case you need it. Okay. The editing settings or editor settings, right? So if you want to adjust how sensitive everything is while you're editing the page, right? Element hover timer. There we go. If you want a little bit of a delay between elements here, you can go in and reduce that a little bit. Oh, we'll go over here. We'll go to editor settings. That guy right there. I'll reduce that. It's a little bit slower. I can tell the difference, but anyways, there's that. Any additional experimental stuff right here will also be listed as they add new things and they want to like test it out. They'll put it within this area just so you can test it out for yourself and see if it helps you, if it makes your experience a little bit better inside of the editor. Totally up to you. You don't have to use this either. It is not required, but you have the ability to do so. which is pretty cool. All right. With that, we have the different options for device type. So by default, we're going to be inside the desktop view, which is what we're in right now. But you can toggle back and forth between that and mobile with these two buttons right here. To the right of that, you have the back and forth options. But basically what that does is if you make an adjustment and you don't want to keep it, you can go back to the version that was there previously, right? So for example, if I go over here and put some gibberish in there and then hit the back arrow, it gets rid of that and it goes back to the original state of that element before that edit was made. All right, or if I want to keep it and decide, hey, I want that back, click on the other arrow and go in the opposite direction. To the right of that, we have the preview option. It's a little eyeball there. If you click on that, it'll pop open the page itself for you to go in and check everything out. You can go and actually click on buttons now. You can mess with things and see how they are functioning on the page. This is basically like your testing phase, so you can make sure everything is up to your standards and working correctly. All right. Let's go next out of this guy. But right next to that, you have the option to save, and that is self-explanatory. You can save all your changes on the page and keep it as is. Now, beneath everything that we just covered right here at the very top, you'll see the actual main chunk of the editor. This is where all the magic is actually going to happen. As we hover around, you'll see like different things highlighted on the page and things like popping out at you. Let's start from the top here when it comes to all this stuff. So for the editor here, there's a few different layers, right? We have sections, we have rows, and we have elements. There actually is one more on top of that, which is going to be universal sections, which is one layer above regular sections. So it would go universal sections if they're in use. They're not always being used. Below that, you'll have sections, right? That's going to be represented by the green color. The next layer down is going to be a row right here. That's going to be the blue color. And then inside of that, the actual individual items on the page, those are the elements, and that's going to be represented by the orange color. These are things like text elements. We have buttons, images, videos. Those are all elements on a page. Sections live within, rows live within sections. Elements live within rows. You cannot have an element without a row, and you cannot have a row without a section. All right, hopefully that helps clarify that. But just know there's a hierarchy on the page. As long as you have that memorized, you're good to go. All right. From here, if you want to adjust anything that's already on the page, if you've already gotten in here and started, created something using a template, you'll probably see something similar to what we're looking at right now. But just click on stuff. If you start clicking around, you'll start seeing that there's other things that will pop up after that. For example, if we click on this headline right here, we should see that this little editor bar will appear where we can go in and adjust things like the boldness of a text, if you want things italicized, underlined, or you even want to create a slash through, like this as an example. There we go. It just basically is like a quick edit feature for you to go in and make those quick edits that you would only need to do once, or you just want to do it quickly without having to go to the main settings of that element. Okay. Let's say that you want to go and adjust things like the color though. You'd want to go over here to this little gear icon, or you can hover over the element, click on the three dots, the gear icon for this guy, and then you'll see the actual settings for that element appear. This is going to be things like the padding, right? How much room do you want to be there? Do you want to adjust the style or the actual version of that style that's being used, right? The color that's being used. Do you want to add a background? Do you want to go in and add shadows, use icons, a lot of things. There's so many different settings that you can use here. Now, you'll also have the option for advanced up here in the top right. This is basically just different things like dynamically populated elements or text, right? Animations. So if you want things to pop out at you or that slide in on the page, you have a bunch of different things to adjust there with this, but just know that is there. Logic, right? So if something happens, if someone does something on a page, you want something to happen, you'd set this type of flow up right in this area. Go, explore, have a fun time there. Really just start clicking around so you start seeing the look that you like when it comes to this stuff. But don't be afraid to break anything. Below that, if you want to add anything, let's say, let's say you're starting from a blank page or you want to add something to an existing page, you can always go in and add new elements by clicking on the plus icon there, or the add element badge that will appear if you hover underneath an existing element. And the same thing will also be applied for different rows and sections, right? So if you hover over an existing row on a page and then click on the add row badge there, it will do the exact same thing where it'll show a window just like this. From there you can set, or pick the actual type of row that you want to use, or the type of element that you want to add, or the type of section you want to add. Totally up to you. Right now, for everything that we just covered, from sections all the way to elements, the editing experience, or the things that you'll see as you hover over those individual items, will be fairly similar. So let's go and walk through each of the items there that you see, just so you are aware of what they are, what they do, and all that good stuff. Now, the first one's gonna be that gear icon. This is gonna bring up these settings. There's settings tab over here on the right hand side, where you can go and make any adjustments to things like the background, the style is being used, the borders, like all that good stuff. This will be where you can adjust and manipulate all of that. Okay, basically like the bread and butter of what you're creating here in the editing experience. If you want to go and adjust anything, you want to go to the settings of whatever layer that you are looking to make that adjustment on. If you want to change like the background for the section itself, you just go over here and you can either use the paint, which is going to be coming from that style guide, or you can go to background and you can go and adjust that however you want there. All right, pretty dang cool. You have a few different options there, but just know that each layer has its own set of settings or unique settings and abilities. So be aware of where you're trying to edit everything. But either way, you should see that little gear icon. It'll still appear or show the settings on the right hand side when it is clicked on. Okay. Right beside that there, you have the clone option, which is going to do exactly what it says. It's going to clone what you are currently on. So in this case, we're doing this for a section. If I click on that, it will duplicate or clone that section. Same thing would apply for elements and rows, right? All these settings are the same. Beside that, you have the code icon. So if you want to go over here and say, have a custom CSS ID selector, you can set it up right here. And each one is going to be very specific. So you can set one up for individual sections. You can do it for rows. Again, you can do it for elements. You can change the title as well if you want to do that right here. And that's basically it. It's just so you can go in and customize those set options for that individual thing that you are viewing. All right. Right besides that, we have the option to save. This is if you enjoy what you've created, you want to use this somewhere else, and maybe this is going to be that new baseline. You can go in and give this guy a name. You can create a folder for it, or look up an existing one, and from there just hit save section. All right, and that will by default give you something new to look at over here. If you go to assets and go to saved, right, you'll see that section that you just created in this area for you to go back to any point. You can drag and drop it. You can reuse it. So let's say like you want to reuse this section after saving it. You can go over here and say add section. From there, go to saved, and it'll find the actual saved section you want to use. Okay. The other option in there when you try to save something is to make it a universal save section, which is basically just going to be a section that you can use on multiple pages. And if a adjustment or change is made to one of those pages, the change will apply across the board for each page that has that universal section in place. Crazy, I know, but a practical use case for this is going to be something like headers or like navigation on a website, footers, stuff like that, right? Just so you don't have to go in and update something for every single page. You can just do it one time, and then from there, it will apply across the board. It sounds crazy. Well, not really. It sounds like something that is super useful. And take advantage of it. Seriously, you should use that whenever you can when it comes to navigation and stuff to save you some time and effort for going in and adjusting everything. All right, but right next to that, you have the trash can icon, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can make things disappear and get rid of them off the page. All right, one last thing I want to cover here is going to be breadcrumbs inside of the editor. Breadcrumbs are a great tool when it comes to your productivity inside of the editor. When you're editing, say like an element, and you want to jump between that and like the section settings for the section that it's in, you could do a couple of things, right? You can go over here and click out of the editor, right? So if I want to exit this and go to section settings, that's definitely a possibility. There's nothing wrong with that. But another thing that you could do is go over here and look at the bottom left, right? There's a couple of things you'll see here down here. These are basically just links to the different areas of the page that we're looking at, or in this case, the section that we're in. So if I want to go from the headline to the section, I could just click on section, and it will take me to the section settings over here on the right hand side, just like that. Super useful, nothing crazy there, but it definitely helps with the editing experience or workflow there. Keep an eye out for this guy because it does shift around the editor as far as like position goes. It was over here in the top right a little bit ago, and now it's down here. But who knows? It just you're looking for something very similar here. It is just like a directional flow of all of the things that are within that area, starting from the topmost position that you're in, which is like the element itself. From there, it'll go to the column, right? And then from there, it'll go to the row, and then it'll go to the section. Going from they just following the hierarchy all the way back up. Anyways, that is it for this overview. Hopefully this was helpful. Really, I just want to give a updated view or overview of the editor, and this changes all the time. Again, don't take this as set in stone. There are updates constantly to the editing experience, but this is what we're looking at right now, July 28th, 2024. And likely the majority of things I covered here today will stay in place. Things might change as far as look and all that good stuff, but just know the fundamentals are still there. Everything should relatively stay similar to what we're looking at right now, besides maybe like where certain things can be found. But we'll update you as those things come, so don't worry about that. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, awesome. If it wasn't, and you have any questions that weren't necessarily answered here, make sure to let us know down below, and we'll point you in the right direction. All right. Otherwise, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We send out different tips, tricks, guides, stuff like this every single Monday to make sure you are up to date and ahead of the game when it comes to the tech side of ClickFunnels Classic and 2.0. Anyways, there's that. Thank you for watching. Again, have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next video.